Hello my dear students, there is a repulsion between the electrons in the d orbital of the metal. We know there is a central metal ion and there are 6 ligands around it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Symmetrically the ligands are approaching. There is increase in energy of the d orbitals. Means if the metal ion have 1, 2 or 3 electrons in the d orbital, the arrangement of ligands in the order of increasing field strength is called as spectrochemical series. Hello my dear students, welcome back to the 5th session of coordination compounds. Today we learn about the magnetic property of coordination compounds and crystal field theory. Last class we had learnt about Werner's theory and valence bond theory. Magnetic property of coordination compound can provide evidence about the orbital energy levels used for bonding. If we study about some of the complexes formed by 3D transition series, we'll understand the magnetic property of coordination compounds better. So we'll see for metal ions which has up to 3 electrons in the d orbital, that is, for example, in titanium plus 3 state it has got only 1 electron in 3d orbital. In vanadium plus 3 state it has got 2 electrons in 3d orbital, and chromium in plus 3 state it has got 3 electrons in the 3d orbital. Irrespective of which is the ligand, that is whether it is a strong field ligand or a weak field ligand, as we have 2 orbitals empty in 3d orbital, all of these complexes will undergo D2sp3 hybridization. That is, it will form inner complexes. Okay? And if you see about the magnetic property, the free ions, that is, if titanium ion, vanadium plus 3 ion as well as chromium plus 3 ion, free ions and their coordination entities have similar magnetic behavior irrespective of which is the ligand. That means in the ionic state as well as when they form a coordination compound, the magnetic behavior remains the same. Never mind if it is a strong field ligand or it is a weak field ligand, and the hybridization will be D2sp3 hybridization. Now when 4th electron comes into picture, we'll have to see how the ligand affects the hybridization as well as the magnetic property. So if a metal ion has 4 electrons in 3d orbital, for example, chromium plus 2 state and manganese in plus 3 state have 4 electrons in the 3d orbital, or we can call them, they belong to d4 system where 4 electrons are there in the d orbitals. Now here in this particular metal ion, you can see if the ligand which is approaching is a weak field ligand, then sp3d2 hybridization will take place. Okay, what is it? sp3d2 hybridization will take place. If for example it is a strong field ligand, then the electrons in the d orbital will pair up against Hund's rule and D2sp3 hybridization will take place. Similarly, in D5 system also you can observe if it's a weak field ligand, sp3d2 hybridization will take place. If it is a strong field ligand, the electrons will move to pair up and D2sp3 hybridization will take place. Same case even with d6 system where you have 6 electrons in d orbital. If it's a weak ligand, sp3d2 hybridization. If it's a strong ligand, d2sp3 hybridization after pairing against Hund's rule. Now if it is a weak ligand, okay, for all the three systems, that is d4, d5 and d6 system, which hybridization will take place? sp3 d2 hybridization will take place, and all these complexes are paramagnetic. Why paramagnetic? Because you observe whenever sp3d2 hybridization will take place, there are unpaired electrons. Yes, in all the three systems there are unpaired electrons as it is, because of which it will be paramagnetic. But if it is undergoing d2sp3 hybridization, then the magnetic property can change. For example, if I take manganese with CN6, that is cyanido ligand, and if I take iron with cyanido ligand, okay, we know cyanido ligand is a strong field ligand, so against Hund's pair, pairing up will take place. Only then d2sp3 hybridization will take place, but both of this will be paramagnetic. Here manganese is in +3 state, and when d2sp3 hybridization takes place, we have 2 unpaired electrons, and iron is in +3 state, and when d2sp3 hybridization takes place, there is still 1 unpaired electron. Whereas if I take an example of cobalt with oxalato as ligand, then this complex is diamagnetic. Even oxalato is a strong field ligand and the hybridization is d2sp3 only, but the complex will be diamagnetic because cobalt in +3 state has no unpaired electrons. Against Hund's rule, everything will pair up, then only d2sp3 hybridization will take place. So if you know which is the ligand, thus ligand will affect the magnetic property as well as the type of hybridization which will take place. Okay, so that is about the magnetic property. I hope you have understood about the magnetic properties of coordination compounds. In VPT, there are many limitations of valence bond theory. The first one is there are several assumptions in valence bond theory. Valence bond theory accounts for magnetic property. Okay, it accounts for magnetic property and geometry, but quantitatively it does not give us the value. Also, it does not explain about the color of the coordination compound. It does not explain about the stability of the coordination compounds as well. So, there is one more theory which explains the stability of the compounds, color of the compound, nature of the bonding in coordination compounds even better, and that theory is crystal field theory. So we have crystal field theory. In crystal field theory, there are some assumptions. The first assumption is the bond between metal and ligand is considered to be purely ionic. What is it? The bond between the metal and the ligand is considered to be electrostatic or ionic bond. Also, if the ligand is anion, it is considered as point charge, and if the ligand is neutral, it is considered to be a dipole. Okay, so what are we assuming? The bond between metal and ligand is ionic, and if ligand is an anion, it is treated as a point charge, and if a ligand is a neutral ligand, then it is treated as a dipole. Okay. Now, when the ligands are approaching the central metal ion, there is a repulsion between the electrons in the d orbital of the metal and the electrons in the ligand. Okay. So, because of this repulsion or this type of interaction, the d orbitals of the metal which are degenerate, that is, we know the d orbitals, 5 d orbitals are degenerate, they will increase in energy because of the repulsion between the metal ion and the ligands, and further it will split up into two sets of orbitals, that is Eg set and T2g set. Okay, the 5 orbitals will split up into two sets, that is Eg set of orbitals and T2g set of orbitals. Eg set of orbitals include dx square minus y square and dz square orbital, and T2g set includes dxy, dyz and dxz orbital. So what happens when the metal is approached by the ligand? Because of the repulsive force or such type of interaction, the degeneracy of the d orbital of the metal ion is split up into two sets of orbitals. One we call it as Eg set, which has two orbitals, dx square minus y square and dz square, and one more set is T2g set, which contains three orbitals, dxy, dyz and dxz. Now this splitting is called as crystal field splitting. Okay, so crystal field splitting, the splitting of 5 degenerate d orbitals of metal ion into two sets of d orbitals of different energy. These two sets have different energy under the influence of approaching ligand is called as crystal field splitting. So when the ligands are approaching the metal ion, the degenerate d orbitals of the metal ion will get split up into two different energy levels, that is Eg and T2g, and the extent of splitting is dependent on which type of ligand and charge on the metal ion also. Okay, so the extent to which energies the two set of orbitals are split, to what extent they are split, okay, that is called as crystal field splitting energy. I hope you understood what do you mean by crystal field theory. Now we will learn about crystal field splitting in octahedral complexes. In octahedral complexes, we know there is a central metal ion and there are 6 ligands around it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the 6 ligands are on or in the direction of x, y and z axis. You can see along this axis you can find 2 ligands, along another axis you can find 2 more ligands, along one more axis you can find 2 more ligands. This is y axis, z axis and x axis. Okay. Now in the free state of the metal ion, there are 5 orbitals which are degenerate. They are all having same energy as shown here. When the ligands are approaching the metal, there is a repulsion between the electrons of the metal as well as the ligands. Now this process we will understand in two steps. First, we are considering the ligand and the metal have equidistance among themselves. First we are considering that the ligands are approaching the metal symmetrically. That means the distance between the metal and ligand are equal. Okay, so we are considering the metal and the ligands all are approaching the metal symmetrically. They are in equidistance. At this stage, all the d orbitals are lifted in their energy. All the d orbitals get lifted or increase in their energy in equal amount. That is the average energy of the d orbitals in spherical crystal field. When there is a symmetrical crystal field around the metal, then all the d orbitals are lifted up. Okay, and the average energy of all the d orbitals is considered to be 0 and it is called as barycenter. The average energy of all the d orbitals is considered to be 0, which is called as barycenter. But if you observe here, the ligands are not approaching symmetrically. We have 6 ligands which are approaching the metal ion along the axis. But we have 5 d orbitals in the metal ion, out of which only 2 are along the axis. Which are those? That is dx square minus y square and dz square. These two d orbitals have their orbitals along the axis. That is, if I draw dx square, this is x, y and z, you have, this is the d orbitals which is there along the axis, dx square minus y square d orbital, and dz square is like this along the z axis. Correct? The rest 3 d orbitals have their orbitals oriented in between the axis. They are not along the axis. Now when the ligand is approaching the metal ion, these 2 orbitals will experience more repulsion because they are directly approached by the ligands. You can see this is the metal, here there is an orbital, here there is an orbital, directly oppositely the ligand is coming, so they will experience more repulsion. Whereas the other 3 orbitals, dxy, dyz and dxz, experiences less repulsion. Thus, these 5 degenerate orbitals will split up into 2, that is, Eg set of orbitals will increase in energy and T2G set of orbitals will decrease in energy with respect to barycenter. I'll repeat, because of such difference in experiencing the repulsive force, the 5 degenerate orbitals will split into 2 sets. The Eg set of orbitals will increase in energy and T2G set of orbitals will decrease in energy. Okay, with respect to barycenter. The difference in the energies between the 2 sets are denoted as delta O. O stands for octahedral. With respect to barycenter, if I have to tell, the Eg set of orbitals have 3 by 5 times of delta O, or increases by 3 by 5 times of delta O, whereas the T2G set of orbitals decreases in their energy by 2 by 5 times of delta O. So this is about the crystal field splitting in octahedral complexes. I hope you have understood. Here again we have 5 degenerate orbitals of the free metal ion. When there is symmetrically the ligands are approaching, there is increase in energy of the d orbitals. When there is complex formation, they will be split into two to form Eg set and T2G set. Eg set will increase in energy, T2G set of orbitals will decrease in energy with respect to Berry's center. So I hope you have understood about the crystal field splitting in octahedral complexes. Next we have spectrochemical series. What do you mean by spectrochemical series? The arrangement of ligands in order of their increasing field strength. What is it? The arrangement of ligands in the order of increasing field strength is called as spectrochemical series. Now, when the splitting happens in crystal field theory, if the ligand is a strong field ligand, the splitting will be more, and if the ligand is weak field ligand, the splitting will be less. Okay, so based on that, they have arranged all the ligands in increasing order of their field strength. That is called as spectrochemical series. We have iodide, bromide, thiocyaneto, chlorido, sulfide, F-, fluorido, hydroxido, oxalato, aqua, isothiocyaneto, EDTA4-, amine, ethane 1,2 diamine, cyanido, and carbonyl ligand in this particular order. Okay, this is called as spectrochemical series. Next, electrons in d orbitals of the metal ion in octahedral complexes. Now, how will the electrons get placed in octahedral complexes? Okay, in D1, D2, D3 coordination entities, means if the metal ion have 1, 2 or 3 electrons in the d orbital, then they will occupy T2G orbital. Correct? In octahedral complexes, what is happening? We have 5 orbitals which is degenerate, which will split to 2 sets of orbitals. This is Eg, this is T2G. Okay, T2G has lower energy, Eg has got higher energy, and this is called as delta O. Okay, that is the extent of splitting, or the energy difference between the Eg and T2G is called as delta O. Now, first, if there are 3 electrons, it will first go and fill the lower energy level, that is T2G level. Now, when there is the 4th electron is coming into the d orbital, where will it get itself placed? Whether it will go to T2G level or whether it will go to Eg level depends on 2 factors. Which are those? That is, it depends on delta O and pairing energy. It depends on delta O, that is what is the extent of splitting, okay, or what is the energy gap between the 2 sets of orbitals, and pairing energy P. Now, what do you mean by pairing energy? Pairing energy represents the energy required for electron pairing in a single orbital. That is, the amount of energy required for pairing in a single orbital is called as pairing energy. If delta O is less than P, or if pairing energy is more and delta O is smaller, then the 4th electron will enter Eg level and will get the electronic configuration T2G3 Eg1. Okay, if delta O is greater than P, that means the splitting is more and pairing energy, the energy required for pairing is less, then it will not go into Eg level, it will start pairing up in T2G itself. So the fourth electron, where it will exactly go, whether it will start pairing up and first fill the T2G level and then it will go to Eg, or it will directly go to Eg level, completely depends on delta O and P. I hope you have understood about this. Next is crystal field splitting in tetrahedral coordination entities. In tetrahedral coordination entities, first we'll see the central metal ion has all the 5 d orbitals, which is degenerate. When 4 ligands are approaching the metal ion symmetrically, their degeneracy will get lifted up, or all the 5 d orbitals will increase in energy, and then it will get split up into 2 sets, that is T2 set and E set. Okay, here we call it as T2 set and E set. T2 set increases by 2/5 times delta T, and E set of orbitals decreases in energy by 3/5 times delta T. Delta T is what? The energy difference between the two sets of orbitals which has split up. I hope you understood about the crystal field splitting in tetrahedral complexes. There is also a relation between delta O and delta T. Delta T is 4/9 times delta O. What is it? Delta T is 4/9 times delta O. This is the relationship between delta T and delta O in crystal field splitting. Okay. So next class we will be learning about color of complexes, stability of coordination compounds, and about metal carbonyls. I hope you have understood today's class. Stay tuned, stay focused. Thank you, my dear children.